You know, I've never seen anyone have trouble with Sonic the Hedgehog because of a fork sticking out of a wall. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Argonaut, and in this video we're going to be taking a look back at the first Sonic the Hedgehog game, as a part of my whole Sonic the Hedgehog marathon. So far, I've already looked back at Sonic Adventure 2, I'll leave a link to that video in the description box below, and now, it's the first game's turn, including its development history, story, gameplay, and music and graphics, along with my thoughts on it. But, before all of that, if you like this video and want to see more like it, then feel free to click that subscribe button to keep up with me. I'd really appreciate it. And, with all that shameless promotion out of the way, on with the video. Back in the late 1980s, while Nintendo and Mario were dominating the gaming market, their rival Sega, yep, that's right, that Sega that you know for making Sonic games, was actually a competitor in the gaming landscape back then. And this was before PlayStation and Xbox were even a thing. It was Nintendo with their NES, which I still own today, and Sega with the Genesis. But now that we have that established, Sega needed something to counter the dominance that was Mario. A mascot of their own to be the face of the Genesis and help push sales. So, they set their in-house dev teams to get on it. Hayao Nakayama, the president of Sega at the time, wanted a character that would be as popular as Mickey Mouse. Eventually, a character designer named Naoto Oshima created a rabbit that was chosen to be the star of this game. And programmers Yuji Naka and a team of about 7 people went to work on programming the game. Naka was a fan of Super Mario Bros. And wanted something that played at a faster pace. Luckily, rabbit symbolized speed, and this rabbit would also be able to use his ears to pick up and throw items. But, unfortunately, there was a problem though. Naka found that the rabbit's ear-grabbing mechanic proved to be pace-breaking for the game. So, eventually, the rabbit character was abandoned, and Oshima created Sonic the Hedgehog. With the Hedgehog character, he'd be able to turn into a ball form and use the quills on his back to damage enemies. And his jump and attack moves could be linked to one button, which wouldn't ruin the game's pacing. And because Mario dominated Japan at the time, Naka was hoping Sonic would be able to dominate the American market. And after 14 months in development, Sonic the Hedgehog hit store shelves in America on June 23rd of 1991. And, in November of that same year, Sega even started including Sonic the Hedgehog with the Genesis, replacing Altered Beast, and officially becoming Sega's mascot. Sonic came out a little bit before I was born, so obviously I didn't play it on release, but growing up, I remember seeing Sonic around a lot. My half-brother had Sonic sheets and pajamas, you'd see him in commercials, and the main thing I remember seeing him in was the TV show The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Unfortunately, I only had my mother's old NES growing up and didn't even know what a Genesis was at the time, or anything about the console wars. I'd finally go on to play Sonic the Hedgehog in about 2001, when my cousin got a Dreamcast, and also had the Sega Smash Pack for it with Sonic the Hedgehog being one of the featured games. I had a PS1 at this time, but I loved Sonic. Keeping in mind, I missed the whole 16 and 32-bit era, its simplicity was so fun for me. Being able to run through levels, trying to go as fast as you can, and using twitch responses to avoid obstacles as they popped up, it felt like a faster-paced Crash Bandicoot game. But what really sucked was my cousin was 8 at that time and I was 9. Can you imagine how long an 8-year-old that's also an only child would share his console to someone else? If I was lucky, I'd get about 20 minutes with the game before he'd take the controller back or throw on some other game. And it's not like I ever saw this cousin all that much either. Maybe twice a year at best. So, it was always Green Hill Zone and Marble Zone on loop every time I played. And one time I even made it to the Spring Yard Zone. But, eventually in late 2004, my parents bought me the Sonic Mega Collection Plus, which was like $20 brand new. Holy crap, what a steal that game was. But, from that I was finally able to get my hands on not only Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but also Sonic 2 and 3. It's actually kinda weird that Sonic CD wasn't on it when I think about it in hindsight, but I spent hours playing the old Sonic trilogy, finally getting to experience Sonic 13 years after its release. But now, onto the story and gameplay of Sonic 1. Being an old-school game, the story for Sonic is simple. There's a scientist named Eggman. Yes, his name was always Eggman. Or, at least it was in Japan. But, in America, they renamed him to Dr. Robotnik, which I think sounds better by the way, and called him that all the way up until Sonic Adventure, when they finally decided to start calling him one name instead of two separate ones. But, for the sake of these classic videos, I'm going to call him Dr. Robotnik. But Dr. Robotnik kidnaps little woodland creatures to power his robots, and also he wants to collect the 6 Chaos Emeralds so he could conquer South Island. And it's up to Sonic, the speedy blue hedgehog with a lot of attitude, to stop him. Some viewers out there might say something like, he turned the creatures into robots, but I'm pretty sure if that were true, you wouldn't see a little woodland creature skipping away every time you kill an enemy. Also, I always found classic Robotnik to be a little bit funny. Seeing what he could do, he could actually probably help people or creatures that lost limbs by giving them cool prosthetic ones, or cure diseases, or come up with some type of unlimited power reactor or something. But nope, guess he just wants to kidnap the little woodland creatures instead. Now, for the gameplay of this game, I used the Sonic Origins Plus version of Sonic 1, as I didn't really see any difference gameplay-wise between this and the original, besides the fact that I'm obviously playing as Amy, and I have the spin dash. But for the gameplay of Sonic, it's super simple. You run and jump to make it to the end of a level while avoiding pitfalls, traps, and enemies. Whenever Sonic jumps, he turns into a ball form, and if you hit most enemies while in ball form, you destroy them. Also, while running, if you press down on the D-pad, Sonic keeps his momentum and turns into a ball form. Throughout the level, you also see plenty of rings. As long as you're holding one, you're able to take a hit from an enemy and keep on moving. If you get hit with none, then you die and lose a life. Sonic's controls are pretty precise. He'll pretty much always go where you want him to, and whenever you miss a platform, you basically have no one to blame but yourself. This game also had some really great physics for its time. I mean, remember, this game came out in 1991. When Sonic starts running, he doesn't just move at full speed from a stop. It actually takes him a few seconds of running before he gains top speed. And whenever you come to a loop or a ramp, if you don't have enough momentum, then you have to go back and gain speed before you could try again. There are 6 zones, each with 3 acts, with the 3rd act having a boss fight at the end. Each level typically has multiple routes you can take to get to the end, typically giving you a smoother run if you have good platforming skills and are able to keep yourself on the upper routes, offering a whole bunch of replayability for these levels. With the lower ones, you'll typically end up having to deal with more traps and enemies, and the bosses in this game are almost laughable. If you have basic platforming skills, you'll shred through them. Although, I did struggle with the Aqua Labyrinth boss. I thought you had to kill him, so I rushed to do so before the water caught up to me, which got me killed multiple times by these stupid forks in the wall. Turns out, all I actually had to do was ignore the boss and just run through the little obstacle course and you just move on. Personally, when it comes to the level design of this game, I always felt like for a game that emphasizes going fast, there's a lot of things to stop you every couple of seconds from doing just that. Like, if you know this game inside and out, you can probably tear through it in about an hour. But if you're just a casual player, there's going to be a whole bunch of stop and go. Along with everything else, Sonic is also able to collect the 6 Chaos Emeralds. Yep, that's right, 6 Chaos Emeralds. It wasn't until Sonic 2 that they added a 7th one, and also Supersonic wasn't a thing in this game either. But you can collect the Chaos Emeralds by reaching the end of a level with 50 rings or above, and jumping into this giant ring, which teleports you to the special zone. And I gotta say, these are trippy. I always thought the level designers were on some serious sparkle dust, if you get what I'm saying, because what are these levels? What are these backgrounds? And it's just a big spinning maze where you bounce around looking for the Chaos Emerald somewhere hidden within, while trying not to mess up and get forcibly ejected out of the place. While I do think the special zones feel pretty out of place in this game, especially with the amount of control you kinda lack here, I mean, you're basically a sock and a dryer. I will say this once again, it does show how good the physics for this game are. But if you get all 6 Chaos Emeralds, then you unlock the good ending for the game. If not, then you get Robotnik at the end telling you to try again, which also offers even more replayability to the game. It just sucks though that you only get 12 chances to try, and that's only if you finish with 50 rings. So you really only have about 6 chances to mess up with at best. Oh, and last thing before I forget, Sonic can't swim in this game, so if you ever end up underwater and end up staying down there for too long, you get to hear this nightmare fuel. While desperately looking for air bubbles with some serious RNG. And now, with all that being said, let's move on to talking about the music and graphics for this game. For its time, I think that Sonic looks great. The sprites look great, the animations look great, the background stands out, and it's also colorful and vibrant, and there are things happening back there. Sonic is even capable of making facial expressions at points. It's crazy how the graphics like this still hold up today in a retro sort of way. And now, for the music of the game. Whew, boy. I'm not fully sure where to start with this. I mean, the music for Sonic games are almost always top-notch, and this one is no exception. For the music of this game, Sega commissioned Masato Nakamura, the bassist and songwriter for a band called Dreams Come True, to make it. And now, keep in mind, he not only had little to no knowledge of making music on computers, but the Genesis was only able to play 4 sounds at a time, and somehow he created one of the most iconic game tracks of all time, from Green Hill Zone to the special stage music to the boss theme. This was actually even the first game to have that iconic Sega chime. Sega! Even as I do the editing for this video right now, I'm listening to the theme for Spring Yard Zone. Yeah, just try getting that theme out of your head. This game came out 35 years ago, and the music still holds up today. Not only does the music just hold up, but every single track is just catchy. After Sonic released, it sold over 2 million copies worldwide by the end of 1991, and almost 3 million by March of 1992. Remember that bundle with the Genesis I told you about before? Well, that sold over 15 million copies as of February of 2009. I mean, obviously, we know the first Sonic game did great, spanning multiple games in the franchise that are still ongoing to this day, along with so many cartoons back in the 90s. He even had 2 different ones running at the same time. One was basically a slapstick comedy with him running circles around Robotnik, and the other one was this dark show where Robotnik basically conquered the world, and Sonic was a part of a resistance fighting against him. Man, talk about your whiplash. But at this point, what can't you find or play Sonic 1 on? You can even play it on your phone nowadays. Let me know in the comments, how many copies, both digital and physical, of Sonic 1 do you own? I have at least 2 with Origins and Mega Collection Plus. Not to mention that Sega seems to slap it into some collection of retro games every few years and somehow sells it off to some idiot for like $40. Not Origins, though, because I get to play as Classic Amy, and that's always worth it. Sonic, despite being a 35-year-old game, is still fun to this day. I honestly have no real issues with this game, besides maybe wishing some of the level design was a little bit better for letting casual players go a little bit faster without so much stop and go, but that's just a personal gripe. With replayability, you'd be able to blaze through this game. Heck, I beat it in less than 2 hours running through casually. The music is still amazing, the boss fights are laughable, but I don't really know what could be done to make those any better. The game as a whole offers a bunch of replayability and leaves you wanting more levels to play. But since it's the first game and you can't hold it against it, but it desperately needed the spin dash. But still, I think Sonic 1 will forever be a timeless experience. And those are my thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog. Did you agree? Did you disagree? What do you think about Sonic the Hedgehog? And what are your memories with this game? Let me know in the comments section down below. I would love to hear from you. And With that being said, we're going to be moving on to the next game in the Sonic Marathon, Sonic CD. I hope to see you there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.